Hey guys, today I'd like to share an update on my stat stacking HOWA Gemling Legionnaire, and leveling the build has been a breeze so far. We've steamrolled all content, we're currently level 89 and we're running T15 maps, but it took some figuring out when it came to optimizing single target, managing mana and so forth. So right here I'm showcasing a +2 breach boss, and as you can see the damage is decent. We are far from optimized. So let's jump right into the build guide. Alright, so we're going to break this up into a few sections, starting with the passive tree. And we just got our final lab as well, while running gem studded to utilize some of the good support gems that I'll showcase later. And essentially it's a very standard Gemling stat stacking tree. We're going all the way down here, focusing on grabbing this wheel, and then grabbing sand in the eyes as well, just because I bought a time loss diamond here that gives percent intelligence, so that's the reason we're grabbing this. If you can't afford this, then I would drop this node for now. And then we're grabbing this lightning rod. Is huge for damage. It's about a 30% more damage multiplier. And then flash storm is just 2 points for some nice penetration and shock chance, which is quite nice. Jewels here, this is just some corrupted with attributes. You can corrupt it with dexterity, intelligence, or strength, and I'm just getting some shock duration, chance to shock. The jewels are not optimized, and it's something that I'll be upgrading towards the final version of the build. And then Falcon Dive is really powerful because we get a ton of accuracy. If you look at our Tempest Flurry here, our accuracy rating is 6,500. So that gives us a ton of attack speed for just 4 points, and we're basically trying to get as fast of an attack as possible with our Tempest Flurry, so we're able to move around quickly, like as you can see here. Alright, and then we're pathing up here, and I like to grab this Falcon technique as well, just because again we're stacking attack speed, and then it gives us a bunch of dexterity too. And martial artistry for dexterity. Going up here to grab Wildstorm. This is very good for more damage. And then we're pathing here to get resonance, so that our combat frenzy basically gives us power charges instead of frenzy charges. And then coming up here, this is what I got towards the higher levels later. Early on you don't need this, but because we are getting a bunch of int, we have a lot of mana, so this is a good defensive layer. And then coming up here to grab more intelligence, and then getting this pure power is huge for damage. And finally another jewel here. Alright, so this is what the tree looks like. And one thing that I want to note is I was trying mind over matter, but this node right here is it's hard to fit into the build right now, just because if we are doing pinnacle bosses and we take damage, it basically drains our entire mana pool and you can't attack. So beware, or be cautious in taking this. Since I'm only level 88, my gear is nowhere near perfect, so I'm still upgrading a lot of stuff. So for now, lucidity is good enough. You basically never die in maps, and when you are doing pinnacle bosses, this is a safer option, at least when you don't have better gear yet. Alright, so the next thing to go over is our gear, and we made some upgrades since the campaign. This is the same weapon that I have, but I bought a new helm, a 300 energy shield helm, just because we are running Green Feast to get more energy shield. Things to prioritize here are at least 300 energy shield, intelligence at least 26 if possible, and then 2 resistances to cap your resist. Rings are the same. These are just dexterity, intelligence are the priority. I am unfortunately not able to fit rarity in my build yet, but eventually we'll see if it gets nerfed or not. But for now, this one here is a tri-attribute ring. Amulet, prioritizing mana, all attributes, and intelligence, and also all resistances if possible. And one thing that I forget to mention is I decided to anoint Essence of the Mountain, which is this node right here. And the reason for that is because when we are using our lightning skills, Storm Wave and Tempest Flurry, we want to be able to get Herald of Ice started. And the way to do that is we need to freeze enemies. So we deal purely lightning damage. There's no other sources of damage in our build. So this node right here, it gives us a flat 5% of extra cold damage. This is huge because we deal so much lightning damage, the 5% translates to a lot of cold damage. So both our Tempest Flurry and Stormwave actually starts freezing enemies, which will trigger the Herald of Ice and the Herald of Thunder combo that I'll talk about later. So that's why we're anointing Essence of the Mountain here. The chest piece is the same. This is just a 2 divine chest piece that I got with attributes as the priority, and then I got spirit just so I can run an extra aura. Eventually I will want to get attributes and mana and get the spirit on my amulet instead. Hand of Wisdom in action, the core of the build. The belt is basically strength, life, mana is the priority. And then mana recovery is nice too, and then resistances. And the boots is just basically movement speed, mana, intelligence, and then resistances. Technically, I don't need 30% since I'm mainly using Tempest Flurry right now, but that's what we have. And as you can see here, we're not using Ingenuity, we're not using Astramentis, so this is nowhere near the expensive version of this build. It's definitely achievable. Okay, and the next thing to go over, and in my opinion this is the most complex portion where people typically have the most questions, is what gem setup should I use? Now there's many different variations you can do here. For me, I've opted to go with gem studded so I could use multiple of the same support gems. You could very well just path up here to get less mana costs, that way you can run your Tempest Flurry more comfortably. You could also get maximum resistances, so it's really up to you. I decided to play around with this for now, so our gem setup is really crucial. Starting with Stormwave, which is our clear skill, but we also were able to clear the entire map with Tempest Flurry, so technically Stormwave is our secondary skill right now, but the links are Upheaval, Long Shot, Rising Tempest, and Conduction. Conduction allows us to shock, and the reason for that is because when we are running pinnacle bosses, I actually put in Electrocute on my Tempest Flurry to basically CC the boss, and because we have Electrocute here in Tempest Flurry, our Tempest Flurry does not shock anymore because this causes your skill to not shock. So we need a way to reliably shock, and that is why Stormwave has Conduction over here. So essentially we would hit the boss with Stormwave, which will shock the boss immediately, and then we go to town with Tempest Flurry. So that is the reason why we have that. But while mapping, you want to remove Electrocute just because that's going to prevent your Tempest Flurry from shocking, and if you don't shock, you're not going to trigger Herald of Thunder. So the links for Tempest Flurry is Martial Tempo, Crescendo, Primal Armament, Inspiration for less mana cost, this is very important, and Innervate for more lightning damage. Inspiration, as you level up your Tempest Flurry, your mana cost gets quite intensive, so you want to make sure to run that. And then Tempest Bell is yet to be 6-link, but we're doing Conk Effect, Close Combat, Early Focus because it doesn't matter. Tempest Bell does not need to shock or anything, and Primal Armament. Now, one thing that I see a lot of other players are running is the Rage support. Now, it's up to you if you want to run this. I personally prefer Primal Armament instead of Rage, just because this gives you a flat 25%, whereas Rage, on the top end, it gives you 30%. However, you need to build up the 30%. And you lose Rage every second if you take damage and stuff. So it's not as consistent. So play around with it. I prefer Primal Armament in this case. And then we're doing the dual Herald setup here. Herald of Ice with Lightning Infusion, Magnified, Effect, Conduction, and Innervate. Basically, we're causing our Herald of Ice to shock to trigger Herald of Thunder, which is ran with Cold Infusion, Glaciation, Ice Bite, and Lightning Mastery. And then Charge Staff, we have Persistence, Lightning Infusion, Lightning Exposure, and Strip Away. This will help us cause exposure on our enemy. And then we're writing a Hand of Chayula here to inflict Conductivity and Voltaic Mark. These will boost your single target damage a lot, and we really only use this against pinnacle bosses. Against map bosses, this is not necessary. and heightened curse to boost conductivity. I'm still figuring out the remaining links for this. Combat Frenzy with Profusion so that we can grant additional charge and clarity since we can fit it in. And then finally, Green Feast. So that is the core of the build. And right now we're going to run a map just to showcase what the build looks like. Now this mapping is probably what the build excels at. And I'm going to run a tier 15 more monster life map here just to showcase how powerful it is. So as we're mapping, this is really a one button build where you just hold down your left click, your Tempest Flurry, and you basically just zoom around the map and everything just dies. You don't even need to use your flask or anything like that. And then just activate your charge staff whenever you can. Delirium does cause my map to lag a little, so I might just deactivate it, but yep. So the one downside with Tempest Flurry is you run into obstacles and it just sort of stops your motion right there. So it's not perfect. It doesn't really path around obstacles too well. So that's why I still prefer to get movement speed on my boots, just because, you know, as you're picking up stuff, you would still want to walk around a little. Yeah, we're not going to loot this map, so we're just going to run through to the, I'm not sure if there's a boss, but we're going to do a ritual here. And then this is what Stormwave looks like. Stormwave is a nice giant AoE skill. It just whips out these lightning projectiles that clears the entire screen. But yeah, this build surprisingly maps even smoother than my explosive shot Deadeye, and I'll link that in the description if you want to check out that build. That's very fun as well for mapping. But yeah, I'm pretty sure we expect this to get nerfed, but since the patch was released last week and it seems like it won't be nerfed for at least another month or so, I decided to give it a try, and it is in fact quite overpowered. The estimate budget for this build so far is probably about 20 divines, if I had to guess. A lot of the stuff I found myself, like Hand of Wisdom, Moria, the armor piece. So it's hard to estimate like the currency that I spent. But it's about 20 divines. The expensive items are usually the rings, because those are the rings and the amulet are the most important items, just because they grant you all the attributes that you need. Yeah, as you can see, we run into obstacles quite a lot, but you're clearing entire screens, and that's why it's hard to gauge if this build's defenses are good, just because everything dies before it even touches you. So the only real way to test it is against pinnacle bosses, but against pinnacle bosses we do change our setup a little bit. Oh my god, I died. Okay, that was embarrassing. But alright, that's the showcase of the build. I'm not sure what killed me there, but there was some combination of lag and just an unfortunate event. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any comments or questions in the comment section. I'll try to respond to them as much as I can, and I'll post an update to this build once I've upgraded a few more pieces and I'm past level 90. So yep, have a good one. Bye.